Hey guys, it's Mike. Got a little bit different video for you today. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but I wanted to come back and ask you guys, I'm really looking for commentary here in the comments around what new car I should get. So I'm contemplating selling the R8. It's been an absolute blast to have, but I would like to switch it up and try something new. And I wanted to kind of go through my different choices, my top choices so far, and also listen to you guys for any other feedback around what I should get next. So first of all, I got an awesome deal on the R8. That's the whole reason I purchased it. I was planning to drive it for about 10,000 miles and then sell it for around similar price, if not higher than I bought it. So I'm really not looking to lose any money on it there, which is great. It's essentially a free supercar rental, big fan of. But I'm looking to sell the car, take some of my equity out so I can invest it in the stock market. I think it's a good time to buy. So I'm looking to buy something probably 80 grand or less. Doesn't really matter about the price so much. It's more so around getting a car that I don't think I'll lose a lot of money on if I do buy it. Something above 80 grand would be 997 GT3. So I'm looking at the first gen 997.1 GT3. That was a car I was looking to buy after I sold my original Z06, C6 Z06 a while back. I ended up going with an M4 because I wanted something with back seats and it was a little bit more well-rounded. Turns out I didn't really use those back seats, so I'm looking for, again, most likely going to be a two-seater. I'm open to other things, but the 997 GT3 is back on the list, and that's something that I think you can get right around for 90, 95 grand for a decent model, or a decent one that's clean, has the right options, and I think will hold a lot of value moving forward. So even in 1, 2, 3 years, it's probably going to be about the same price. So that's definitely on the list, definitely a contender. I've always wanted to own a Porsche. I have not owned one at all, so that's on the list. Also Cayman S and Cayman GTS, only the newer body style. I don't really like the old ones as much. I know they drive great, but they're just not very beautiful in my opinion, so I'm really looking at the new model style from 2014 onward. The GTSs are beautiful and they're great cars. They're a little pricey still. You can get a Cayman S for around 50 grand, 55 grand for a decent one, probably a little bit closer to 60. So if I can find a deal on one of those, that's another contender. I have driven one a while ago, and I liked it, just not a lot of torque, and at the time I was looking for something a little bit torqueier. That's why, again, I ended up going with the M4 at the time. This was when I was selling the Z06. I still wanted some power. Now I am open to a little bit lower horsepower cars just to switch it up. I love driving, I live here in San Francisco. I love driving up the coast or down the coast, so something that has 300 plus horsepower is more than enough. But at the same time, I do enjoy torque for highway driving. I love just getting on it and really ripping up the highway. So another contender is the C7 Z06. I'd never had a chance to drive a C7, and I probably should have before I bought my M4 a while ago just to try it out. But again, I was coming from the C6 Z06, so I wanted to switch it up and move away from a Corvette just to try something new entirely. I did get a chance recently to drive a C7 Z06. I was actually going to the dealer to check out the new Grand Sport just because I think they're awesome and they have more than enough power. 465 horse, 460 foot-pounds. That's plenty for most people. Again, I've had higher horsepower cars. Probably closer to 2 or 3 of my cars are closer to 500 wheel horse. But with the C7 Grand Sport or even just a normal Z51, you can do a couple bolt-on mods and be right around that same horsepower range of about 500 foot-pounds and 500 horsepower at the wheels. So that's more than enough. Especially for back road driving, especially and track too. So I tend to track my cars maybe 2-3 times a year. I want something that's a little bit less expensive so I'm not afraid to crash it and I can go a little bit harder. I did recently track the R8 at Thunder Hill West. That's a little bit more technical, tighter course. Really, really enjoyed it. Great car. It was a little wet that day, but the car performed really well. It was just so expensive to do because I bought track insurance and it was about $600 or $700 to cover the car just for the one day. So that plus $200 or so for driving on the track. It's pretty expensive. Dropping $1,000 every time you track the car is not ideal, even if you're doing it twice a year. So I'd want something a little bit lower where I wouldn't necessarily want or need to buy track insurance. So that's partially the idea as well. Getting a little off track here, but again, so the Grand Sport I was looking at, I'll probably test drive that once I sell my Audi to see if that's something I want or if I really do want more power. The Z06 was absolutely ridiculous. I think I made the guy shit his pants. We were entering the highway and I did a burnout in second gear at around 50 or 60. So that thing is outrageous with torque. So we had it on, I think, on sport mode, so the traction control wasn't fully disabled, but it definitely allowed me to break it loose. The guy was completely frightened. It was almost, again, shit his pants. It was like, oh, fuck. So that was awesome. We only drove it up the highway, and then I took an on-ramp to get back on the other direction, and we hit that turn pretty hard. So it's definitely, that was really the only bit of like handling I got to feel. Initial impressions were obviously the car is incredibly fast. It's very different looking than the R8 because the R8's mid-engine, so there's no real hood. You can see out very easily. Having a long hood in front of you like the Corvette, even though it's not that big of a car, it's still definitely a different feeling. So that was interesting to kind of see the more kind of boat-like feel of a car. Steering wheel's definitely a lot smaller than my C606 was, which I appreciate. Still not as thick as I would like. Coming from my BMW M4 and the Audi, they're a little bit thicker, which I prefer. But I do like the smaller feel of the wheel. Again, I didn't really get to test the handling dynamics that much, but I enjoyed the 7-speed manual quite a bit. I think it's really good throw feel. It's a lot more narrow throws than in the gated shifter on the Audi. The gated shifter is amazing, but again, it's definitely not the best shifter there is. It's just an awesome experience because it's so visceral when you're clinking through the gears. So really happy that I got the gated shifter. That's what's really keeping the value of the R8 so much, is that it's very rare to have. After I think 2014, they stopped making manuals altogether, so you can no longer get a gated manual in an R8 moving forward. But yeah, the throws in the Z06, even just a standard throw, pretty short. The space between the gears and the gates was really great. I don't even know if I put it in the 7th, but when I was sitting there at a standstill, I did try moving it over, and it's a little funky, but again, you're not going to use that a whole lot, especially during spirited driving. Also downshifts and heel towing for the couple shifts I got to go up and down, and felt really good. The throttle is not as revvy as the R8, but you can blip it pretty easily, and again, it's easy to throw into the next gear down. So I really like that. So those are the Grand Sport and just the C7 in general are what I'm considering. So it'd either be Grand Sport or Z06. I like the technology. The cabin, while the ergonomics and everything is laid out a lot nicer than the C6 for sure, the materials are again nice, but there's just something missing a little bit. It's not to the caliber of the R8, but it's definitely acceptable, and it's not something that people would make fun of and complain about. But there's small things where it's just plastics in certain areas are not the nicest. Also, this is kind of weird. I've never heard someone talk about it, but the shifter feels a little hollow, which is weird. The shape of it is great. The throw feels good. I wish there was a little bit more weight to it, but also just the actual, when you're holding on to the shift knob, it just feels kind of hollow, which is weird, and it feels a little bit cheap. Again, everything doesn't need to be ultimate premium, but when you do drive a Porsche like a 911 or a Cayman, everything just feels another level higher. And that's not necessarily what I'm going for, especially for a car that I'm probably going to own again only for a year or two. But it is nice to have something that you can cruise on longer distance. I definitely want a car that I'm going to be comfortable driving longer range. Another thing when talking about this C7 is the seats. So I sat in the competition seats. I also sat in the GT seats. To be honest, the competition seats look a lot better, and there definitely is a bit more lateral support. But the GT seat was surprisingly decent. And when I sat back and forth between the two, just in the showroom, not as much of a difference as I would have thought, actually. So if I found a package I was sitting on a lot that had the GT seats and it was a lot better price, I probably would go with them. It's not leaps and bounds better to get the competition seat, in my opinion. If you really want to put a harness bar in there and stuff, yeah, you'll have the slots for the 4-point harness, but other than that, I don't think they grip, honestly, that much more. And both of them have adjustable lumbar support, so you can tighten them in even in stock configuration. So I think that was really nice. So yeah, the C7, what it has going for it is it has more modern technology. That's what I'm looking for, is a little bit more modern, like stereo system and kind of entertainment that I can, like Bluetooth and all that. I think it's nice just to have those creature comforts. Again, if I'm going with a GT3 like the 997, it's not going to have that stuff, but it's got heated seats. That's really the one thing I care about, because I love driving with the windows down to listen to the motor. So it's kind of cold here and crisp in San Francisco, so having heated seats is really nice. Other than that, I love having a nice stereo, but at the end of the day, if you're driving a GT3, it doesn't really matter. I can make do with whatever's in there. I can just pull out all my my old mix CDs from who knows when, all the ghetto remixes I did, all the mixtapes. So yeah, Cayman S, Cayman GTS, C7 Grand Sport, C7 Z06, 911 GT3, 997 version that is, so 2007 to 2010, right around in there. That's what I'm looking at year-wise. It most likely would be an 07 for that price point. I've never driven the 997.2 or the .1, but I've heard that the .1 is a little bit more rev happy, and actually some people prefer that. regardless, they probably both drive incredible, and you wouldn't complain either way. So things to think about are, do I really care about more modern interior and stereo and all that? Or do I care more about protecting my equity in the car and get something that's more likely to not depreciate? The good thing is you can still find a couple 2016 Z06s, and they're going for like literally 20 grand off MSRP. So I could get something that's right around 90 MSRP. You can get it for about 72 out the door. So great price. And if I were to resell it, I would lose money, but not a whole lot. Other things to consider are, you definitely are paying full taxes through a dealer, so you're paying about 9% on top of that. So you're paying about 6-7 grand, but you're not going to recoup. So that's out the door. That's going to be gone. If I were to buy something like private party, whether it be a Z06 or a Cayman, I could probably massage that tax number a little bit, so it would be less impactful overall. But at the end of the day, if I'm losing a couple grand, I get it. That's the price you pay. But I think it's definitely worthwhile. So definitely open to your guys' comments around what else to consider. Literally, I'm open to all sorts of things between like a 1991 NSX to like a CTSV wagon to, I don't even know, even the new Camaro I think is pretty interesting, like a 1LE when that comes out. Not the biggest fan of the Camaros, but the new chassis, the Alpha platform, is supposed to be incredible handling. The interior is pretty decent, I think. I think it's laid out really nicely, and it puts up pretty ridiculous numbers on the track. So for 40 grand, 42 grand, something like that, not a bad deal at all. And again, even if I lost 5-10 grand on it, it's probably a really, really fun car to have, and I'd probably beat the shit out of it. And the other thing to say, mag rides, so the magnetic suspension in all the Chevys with both the 1LE as well as the Z06 and the Grand Sport, unbelievable. So if I am planning to take a nice road trip up the coast, they're very comfortable while at the same time perform very well. So just things to think about. Not really sure what else is on there. Maybe I'd own like a Lotus Exige or something. The Alfa Romeo I've never driven. I really like the car, but at the same time I do not like that it has the automatic transmission. I forget if it's even a dual clutch, but I know it's kind of a shitty one, and it's just, there's a lot of quirks to the car, which might not be that bad for short term, but I don't know. It's something about that car it's not quite fully baked, I don't think. It sounds great, it looks beautiful, so still a possible contender. And then the other big one is Nissan GTR. I could definitely find like a nice black edition for probably around 60-70 grand. That's not going to lose a lot of money. I've always wanted the GTR, even back in the day when it came out in 2009. But I guess, again, if I'm going to own it for a year or two, like I know I'll get bored of it in daily driving just because it's only paddle. And it's a big car. I'd rather have a little bit smaller, but it is fairly practical, and I do like how it looks. I know it's not the most comfortable ride, but they actually sound pretty decent too if you have an exhaust. I've heard some decent ones here in the Bay Area, and I'm a fan of the Nissan VQ motors, the V6s. So not everyone loves them. I think they personally sound decent. I used to have a 370Z back in the day and a 350Z back in high school, so pretty familiar with those V6s. But anyway, those are my thoughts. So GTR, Cayman, 997 GT3, new Z06, maybe Grand Sport. Let me know what you think about those. If there's something else that you guys are thinking about, again, it could be 15 grand, it could be 85 grand, somewhere in that range is what I'm thinking of. Just a bit cheaper than the R8. Let me know. Really want to hear your guys' comments, and I want to have an open discussion, and I'm planning to make a few more of these videos as I kind of go through the process. So happy to answer any questions around why I plan to sell the R8. And again, I'm open to feedback around what other cars you guys think might be good. So appreciate all 17 of you guys subscribing. Feel free to share this with other people you think might enjoy it, and let's keep the dialogue going. Thanks, guys.